Hello, I'm Jamie.
Hello, I'm Mark, and it's time for another episode of Through the Garden Gate. Live from my polytunnel at the bottom of the garden. It's quite cold tonight. Let's try and get Jamie in.
Evening.
Hello.
Oh,
It's episode number 66.
66. How the hell can it be 66?
So, it's the one after 65, apparently. And the one before
Hey, Jenny.
7.
I know.
Not only do you need to say hello to Jenny, we need to say a very special happy birthday to Jenny, because it's her birthday.
Oh, happy birthday to you. I'm not going to sing on my own, Mark.
Nobody wants to hear me singing.
Oh,
I've already sang once this week.
damn. Happy birthday, Jenny. Hope you had a fantastic day.
Hope you've been spoiled
I'm sure she has.
by your kids.
How are you getting on your own at work?
Lonely.
No.
Keep expecting him to turn up, but he's not there.
No.
He's on Guernsey.
He is having a lovely time by the looks of it.
Yeah. Not rubbing it in at all, is he?
Obviously, everybody were talking about Chris, Groovy Gardening UK. If you don't know who he is, go and have a look, see what he's up to. He's living it up now. I thought he might pop in, actually, to be honest. Give us a little bit of a lowdown. But yeah, it looks like he's having good fun, doesn't it? So
He'll
far.
be asleep. He'll be in it. He'll be tucked up in bed.
He will be walking 15 minutes to and from the beach at lunchtime.
Hard life, isn't it?
I know.
Walk downstairs to go to work.
Yeah. Walk downstairs, get your breakfast from the restaurant.
Yeah. Somebody cooked for you. I'll never know why he left working with me.
No. No, I don't understand either. Fatsia, Polycarpa, Green Fingers, Money. Oh, look at all that. Lovely. Even Jill.
We're always here for help and advice.
Always. Definitely.
Ask away in the
Fire away.
Ask in the question box. And
yeah.
I'm sure our guests tonight will be able to help with any
I'm
garden.
sure they will, yeah. Definitely. What have you been doing in the garden this week?
What have I been doing? What Tuesday? So just weeding, basically. Moving plants.
Saw that bed you did. It looked nice.
Yeah, moving plants that are healed in places, trying to get them into the ground. There's a couple more that I need to get done. I'm just trying to get where they've been doing all the big work, like sorted.
Oh, yeah.
And all back in place before it gets properly cold, and hopefully before Christmas, so that it's nice and tidy for the Christmas holidays.
Yeah.
It never stops. Sowing seeds in the polytunnel. Did my garlic and my onions. Sowed some broad beans that the mice went and ate.
Oh,
so I've sowed some more broad beans and put a lid on it.
I know. No, terrible.
Feels like you're just feeding the mice.
I re-sowed my sweet peas. I haven't been in there for 3 days, so they might all be gone again. I don't know.
I've done all mine, but I've done it in the properly sealed one that I was telling you about. So it's got a lid on it, in the tall root runner ones.
Yeah, the root trainers.
Because I think that's the only way to do it. Because every time I've sowed them in the greenhouse, they've just got eaten.
Yeah, terrible.
And I think
what would you recommend with a windswept garden on the Welsh coast, Mark?
A windswept. Wow.
Something that
Hardy.
Hardy. Don't mind a bit of salt spray.
Echinops. What's the shrub? There's a nasty spiky thing, but it likes being at the coast. No.
No.
Something berry.
Oh, the yellow berries.
Can't remember the name of it.
You can make drink out of it, can't you?
Yeah.
The yellow berries. Oh God, what's that called?
And the other thistly ones.
Sea buckthorn.
That's the one.
Yeah.
You know, anything like that. Anything that's alpines are quite good. It depends whether if you can create like a wind barrier, you can grow probably more things. It depends whether you're right on the coast as well. Like if you're on the seafront, and you might
completely different if you get the this actual sea on it.
Yeah, hydrangeas work. Borderlines would probably work depending on how cold it gets on the Welsh coast. Depend what end Welsh coast is it as well? Because if it's down the bottom, it's probably warmer than what it is at the top.
Yeah.
Where we went at Falmouth.
Jenny just said she sews hers and puts them inside a old hamster cage. If it stops a hamster getting out, it's going to stop a mouse getting in. What a brilliant idea!
Quite a clever idea, isn't it? Genius.
Oh my god, brilliant! I have done a floating shelf before, and mine are on just a shelf which is strung up by some wires at the moment, so they got no chance of getting them. But yeah, the old hamster cage is perfect.
Yeah, sea buckthorn.
Yeah. Oh my god, that must be the best idea I've heard in ages. Put them inside a cage.
Can't go far wrong, can you? If they might,
No.
if they can't get out, they can't get in.
Perfect. Fantastic. Yeah, so if anybody's got any questions for our guests when we get them in a minute, put them in that little question box down there, and then we can see them, because sometimes we miss them in the comments if the comments start flying a bit quick.
Right, should we get them in?
Do your stuff.
So tonight's guest, we don't just have one, we have two who are trying to live a self-sustaining life. They have over 60,000 subscribers on YouTube. They are probably best known for their chicken keeping, but they are definitely living the dream. It's Fiona and Hugh, English Country Life, or you might know Fiona as the Floof Lady.
Floof.
Floof.
Oh, and there they are.
Hello.
You're going to have to squeeze up, get a bit closer, get a bit closer.
We've got a bit of headroom up here, yeah.
Evening, both.
How you doing?
Yeah, not bad.
Thank you.
I think
we're
a bit warmer than you are.
Yeah, loving the hat, Mark. It's lovely.
Definitely trying to stay warm. I will not.
Well,
Wait,
to be fair, if you feel cold, we'll put another log on the fire for you, and you get a bit of radiated heat.
I'll just put my hand in front of the screen and warm myself.
Yeah, exactly.
We have a bit of a thing that we try and stay outside as long as we possibly can and record, but nah, it's too cold for me now.
You've given up. Yeah.
You barely stay
I've given up.
all day, never mind in the evening.
I know. Sometimes I do get the chimney out there, but no, I can't be bothered now. I'm a bit jealous actually, Hugh, because you just told me you got Bovril, and look, you drank it on.
Yeah, mate. Bovril, yeah. I'm sorry, I'm a traditional. Although, actually, I got to tell the truth here. I can no longer afford branded Bovril because, like, it's just a horrible price. But Morrison's do own brand beefy drink. I think it's
Beefy drink.
Yeah, half the price of Bovril, indistinguishable. So I'm actually having a mug of beefy drink.
Oh, perfect.
Self-sufficient drink, chamomile, which I grew myself.
Oh wow.
Hey.
See, I've had a discussion with a good friend of mine, Kim, this week about teas and things like that, and I just can't get on with any herbal teas or flowery teas or things. I just can't do it.
I'm kind of
keep trying them.
On the herbal, but I have to say, dried fruit tea, like a blackberry or a blackcurrant. I mean, a blackcurrant tea is pretty much Ribena anyway. And then, particularly if you bung it in, like hot water, and blackberry. I mean, what's the fruit stuff, I think really, really works actually for me.
For me, it's chamomile and ginger. So we grow our own ginger in B&Q buckets, actually. We've drilled holes in the bottom. So we grow those in the greenhouse in B&Q buckets. And there's nothing like grated ginger straight into boiling water. It's amazing.
Never tried it. I can imagine it's really nice.
I tell you what, I mean, growing ginger in terms of bang for your buck. We were
very much so.
Obviously we're in farmland here, so we kind of like take the mickey out of some of our neighbours a little bit. But I can get well over a kilo of root ginger out of a single B&Q bucket. Now you price that up in Tesco, I'm getting a return of £5 per square foot on my growing. I mean, you tell that to a farmer, you can watch them weep. You know, I mean, it really is like, you know.
I mean, that's the thing. We've got limited space, so we sat there. I mean, we made loads of mistakes when we first started.
Still do, yeah.
So, you know, we grew all of these things which we thought we should grow in, you know, an allotment patch and a large vegetable garden, and essentially most of it went to waste. So what we did then was sit down and look at what do we actually buy, and then we tried to grow the things which would have cost us the most money in the supermarket. So we grow a lot of fruit.
Yeah.
But it is things like ginger and the chilies and, you know, all those flavourings which cost a fortune in the supermarkets. Those are the things which we really go out of our way to try and grow.
And of course meat. But I mean, it's a funny thing because people sort of sit and go, well, how can you be sort of self-sufficient? And the reality is you can't. You know, you can... one day I'm going to write a book. I've had a book in my head for years on this, which is, I reckon I can do 350 pages on how to make a cheese and pickle sandwich. No, that is actually perfectly serious. And if you take it back to first principles and go, I want to make cheese, right, you've got to know everything there is to know about cattle keeping, and then you've got to learn how to make rennet, and then you've got to learn how to make the bowl that you're going to curdle the milk in with the rennet. And you start taking things back further and further and further like that, and then you go, I want to make pickle. Well, okay, to make pickle, I've got to learn to make vinegar, which we do. We make our own vinegar. But to make the vinegar, you need to grow the orchard to produce the apples to produce the cider vinegar. And then you've got to learn how to graft a tree to produce the orchard. And you can really go, you know, further and further and further back. And this is what I mean about sort of self-sufficiency is kind of a journey, not a goal. You know, we started out and we bought a bunch of fruit trees. And we planted them, then we went, Amy, they're expensive. You know, like if you go out and buy a nice heritage variety maiden at 5 foot tall, you know, you could be looking north of 30, 35 quid, you know? And yet, then you prune off a load of what amounts to scion material every year and burn it. Or you can graft it onto an MM106 rootstock and blow me down.
You got another one.
For years time, you've got another 30 quid tree.
And you can stop, cost you 50 pence a root when you first buy it, and then you can actually continue growing your own, layering it.
Yeah, so we layer up those rootstocks,
I know,
you know, and it's like, and literally, we've had friends who go, I want an orchard, and we go, can you wait a year? Yeah, well, mate, you want, you know.
No, we've done it.
And yeah, we literally do, and it's like you literally pot them on in the B&Q buckets because where else do you buy a
for a quid?
Well, 9-inch flower pot as soon as you've got a for a quid.
If you don't mind it being orange, that is.
Yeah, or black.
No, the black ones are 20 pence more.
Oh, they? Oh, that's something. I can't have that. No. But it's, we're actually at the point now, we understand the longevity of a B&Q bucket. I can tell you now, about 11 years, you know, when the plastic gets brittle in the sun. So you pick them up at about 11 years old and you're left holding the ring of the rim at the top and the top's still sat on the ground, you know.
Well, I don't think 80 pence a year is too bad then, is it? No, 8 pence a year.
Yeah, to be honest with you, I can't make the terracotta ones last. I'll break them.
We've got more crock, bits of crock to put in the bottom of pot than terracotta pots than we've actually got terracotta pots.
No, the big ones, you know, the ones that are like about an inch thick, you know, like the monster. They last, they're pretty robust. But you know, obviously then they cost like, you know, the gross national product of Brazil to buy in the first place, don't they? So,
the thing is, people keep giving them to us now, so we've got more than we can use.
Absolutely.
I have to keep trying to give them away to other people. It's amazing. Anyway, it looks like I'm having a bit of a row with Hugh, but actually I've got my leg up on cushions because I broke my leg earlier in the year and it needs to be elevated at night. So I'm not rowing him.
I was going to bring that up in a little while, but seeing as how you've just brought it up, let's talk about it.
Oh.
I've watched your video on YouTube, and so I know all about it. But
Oops.
So
That's what it was. It was oops. I turned
Yeah.
around and fell over. It was as simple as that. But the worst thing was that I was actually burning brush from cutting the hedges on the bonfire at the time. So I ended up having to drag myself across wet grass in January to get away from the burning fire.
with a shattered leg.
Yeah, that was fun.
Of course, it would be on the one, the probably 5% of the time we're not together.
Yeah.
So I was in town taking my elderly mother for a hearing test, my very elderly mother for a hearing test. Then her rings and goes, I think I broke my leg.
I think I said I've broken my ankle. Actually.
Yeah. Now, I'm like, half an hour away. Now, very fortunately, we are surrounded. Like, Linkage has the best people in the world. Seriously, like the best people in the world.
Right.
But
And Mark Wentworth.
yeah. So I'm on the phone to my farmer buddy who lives, probably half a mile away, less than that.
Yeah.
Like, Nick, Fiona's done her leg. She's in the field, and I'm half an hour away. And he gave you the perfect response, which is all you want at that point, which is on it. And just hung the phone up. Like,
yeah, perfect.
Not can she wait? Not are you sure she's broken it? Not I'm just going to finish off something. It was on it, and that was it.
And so our property is very secure, so the gate to the field is locked, and it's a 6-foot gate. So Nick's not asked around, just locked up with bolt croppers, boom, straight through.
Look at that.
And it's like he's on the phone with the ambulance, and he's just like, it's absolute diamond bloke,
And of course, as soon as he turned up, I went into shock. So I was shivering, and Victoria, his wife, came down with blankets and pillows, and I thought it was on the ground for about half an hour, but apparently it was about 4.5 hours.
It wasn't quite that. I mean, it's only over 3. Yeah, it's over 3 hours. It's only left. I mean, to be fair, the first responders got here pretty quick.
Yeah, they sent the specialist falls team,
but then it was like they got the ambulance here, and then it was like they had to do the assessment, and then it was like how they had to stabilise the leg. Wow. I mean, I've got to say, to be fair, the meat wagon driver, because I followed him to the hospital, right? Very awesome, like, because he knew how much pain Fiona was in. He assessed it's broken, hadn't he?
Yeah.
And he's like, that's a bad break. Right, okay. And I kid you not, he didn't go over 15 miles an hour. And it's like, because it's like little tiny back roads, no road markings, potholes everywhere.
It's like 10 miles. Wow.
Yeah, and the queue of traffic reached Skegness come the finish. You know what I mean? And he was just like, I don't care, I've got a patient at the back. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
Comfort comes absolutely top of the line. But I was like, I would have been like so worried about it. But he was like, that's stubborn. Like, this is an ambulance. We do what we need to for the patient.
By which time, so high on painkillers, you wouldn't believe it. And they got me into a room. And the head of A&E was actually on duty on that day doing the intakes, and she was chatting away to me about self-sufficiency and chickens and then she actually walked up at the house because she wanted to first of all see how I was going, but her daughter, who was about 6 or 7,
she's lovely, stunning girl,
daughter wanted to see the chickens, and she ended up actually taking some fertilized eggs away for the school to hatch. But she said she couldn't believe the state of the break given how chatty I was when I came in. And I was thinking, that's the wonders of all these wonderful painkillers, It was quite bad because at the time I think only in the last 3 months I've come to realise just the extent of the break, because I knew I had breaks on tibia and fibula from ankle to halfway up the leg, and I knew that I'd been told there was a fracture on the biggest bone in the ankle, so the talus bone, but actually it wasn't on the talus bone. There were 3 chunks of the ball of the tibia which had actually broken off. So
not a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds like an injury you'd get from falling down a mountain or something.
Yeah,
but
just
actually twisted around in the garden.
Yeah, the surgeon said it was the kind of injury you'd expect to see from a serious horse riding accident.
Yeah. Amazing. And they've done everything, haven't they? Now the bone density tests. Is there any like osteoporosis there? And is there
nothing?
No, it was just one of those things.
Wow.
But you know what?
Unbelievable.
Live this life it happens. I mean, it was only about
could be worse.
about 6 years ago, I was logging with a chainsaw solo. So I'm sitting there running this like monstrous great saw, and I'm sitting there thinking, this is moderately dodgy, like, you know what I mean? I'm only bucking up, so I'm working on the ground. But I'm going to be careful here, and I'm going to like clear, because when I say logging up, I mean we cut 60 cubic meters of log a year, so it's
Yeah.
So I'm in the yard, and I'm like ankle deep in sawdust from logging up. I mean, I'll get the shovel out, I'll clean it all up. So I did all of that, put the shovel away behind me, got saw started again, stepped back onto the blade of the shovel. If you imagine the shovel's kind of leant up against the wall, and I stepped back on the blade of the shovel, my feet shot out from under me, running chainsaw in the hands, mind you. And I'm thinking, oh my God. But I'm wearing full suit because I did. I'm not, I'm not stupid about that. But, I then came down across the saw bench, sort of chest first, kind of holding the saw away from me because obviously you don't want to face plant on saw. Came down across the saw bench on the chest and sewed my ribs, didn't I?
Yep.
And it was like, that was so joyous because you're sitting there going, yeah, don't lie down for a fortnight. So what now? No, you best not lie down for a fortnight, mate, because that's not going to go well. But I did. Sleep in a chair.
Sorry.
And it's just, you do lots of physical stuff, and we do lots of physical stuff, and we are very careful. But unfortunately, sometimes accidents happen, don't they?
And that's the thing, you can't have traditional kind of gender roles, because people can say, oh, I was cutting the grass. Why are you cutting the grass? That's Hugh's job. No, I actually like cutting the grass. I'm the one who paints all the windows upstairs. So I will be next year. I'll be setting up scaffolding and going up and down scaffolding and painting the windows. Mm-hmm. That's my job, not Hugh's, and it's because it's the stuff I enjoy.
Yeah. And we do divide jobs up, but it's more by who likes doing what.
Yeah.
And who's got aptitude. Because I do all the sparky work, I do all the electricity and all that.
But that's because I'll kill myself with electricity.
But Fiona's much better at plumbing than I am,
Yeah, I know, but seriously, if I touch the stuff, I will die. Whereas if you touch any type of plumbing, someone else will die.
Yeah. Well, I work on the principle with electricity. You've either made a circuit or you haven't. It either works or it doesn't. Right? You very rarely find a little bit of electricity running down the wall. You know what I mean? It's not binary like it is with electricity. Like with plumbing, it's like you always get that drip, don't you? And it's like,
in the blinding, like
yeah, fluent Anglo-Saxon.
Yeah.
So yeah. So, but that's the small world in life. But it's I have to say, I think it's fantastic. It's like the whole kind of self.
Better than being in an office.
Yeah, it's so interesting as well. Yeah. It's like the kind of thing as I was saying before about how far do you want to take it, but some of it we do. Honestly, certainly in the early days, I did kind of just for giggles because people are going, "You couldn't possibly do that." Okay, we'll have some of that. I remember
one. Make his own sugar.
Yeah, the whole Jamie's Farm show said, "Oh, you can't possibly make sugar without a factory." Hold my beer. Now, in fairness, it was more of a Demerara sugar than it wasn't pure white.
In fairness, there was about a teaspoon's worth.
Yeah, there was a lot. Can you do it? Yeah. Could you scale that up? Absolutely.
You'd have to make it work.
Yeah, but you can. We've got a sugar beet. Literally, field next door's got sugar beet in it.
Yeah.
It isn't particularly hard once you've got a salt of sugar. At its crudest level, peel it, grate it, boil it, filter it, and you've got sugar solution. Yeah. Boil it down to the point of evaporation, and then pulverize it. And actually, what's really interesting is, you start boiling it down to the point of evaporation, and then you suddenly start twigging stuff because you go, that's molasses. You get that, that smell of like warm treacle. Yeah. And it's like, as you're boiling it down, you go, oh, that's what molasses is. You know what I mean? And then you refine it a bit further, and you kind of go, oh, that's golden syrup. Right, okay. And it kind of really is. But you see, I think one of the points Fiona's making there, and this is something I am absolutely passionate about, is honestly, for me, if you're going to do biology in a school, right, and home economics, do that, right? Spend a bloody year, not every lesson, but plant some sugar beet seed, grow it, harvest it, grate, boil it, prep it. You've got a bit of biology, you've got a bit of home ec, you've got a bit of physics, you've got all sorts of stuff. But I'll tell you something else. Whatever amount of sugar you produce, you will realise that sugar should cost more money.
Yeah.
If you want to deal with food waste, that's how you do it. You want to do, I mean, I'll tell you what, raise a chicken for the table at some point, right? And then you go, you know, so Tesco sells a chicken for what? Less than a fiver. But three.
Yeah.
And then you go, so they didn't grow that. Somebody else grew that chicken. So let's assume that the farmer got 50% of that, which he didn't. But let's assume he did. So you got to pay £1.50 for a chicken, you know, and then from that you've got to take away the feed, the housing, the losses, the breeding costs, the incubators, the really, you know, is that what food should be worth?
That's why they have to do it on such large scales.
Exactly. I mean, I remember my grandfather was a steam train driver back in the day. He used to come home back in the day when your wage packet was notes folded over, stapled, you know, in a brown envelope, age. Take it home, unopened, because that's what a good man did to his wife, and they would open the wage packet. Yeah.
Doesn't happen now.
No.
No, you just have to give them the credit card now.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But a third of his wages went on his mortgage, a third of his wages went on food, and a third of his wages covered everything else: electricity, coal for the fire, you know, the whole shebang. Right? You think about that. That said that food cost the same as his house did.
Yeah.
You know, and that was when obviously things were done a lot more manually, and you know, all of that. But that says that shows you what it should be worth if we actually valued our food and, you know, grew it in a way that was sustainable and manageable and all the rest of it. And I think people don't value it because it's just a simple commodity that comes from the supermarket.
That's true of everyone. I mean,
It's not,
you know, chickens have now been genetically engineered to grow within a 6-week period. Grow so they can barely stand on their own joints.
Yeah, that's terrifying. I mean, something that can grow to an adult size in 6 weeks.
That's horrible.
Yeah, it is. It is. And there's no life for them. I mean, it's very interesting because we are chicken breeders, and obviously half of everything that hatches is male. Now, in a commercial world, if you're hatching egg layers, somebody's sitting there vent sexing those chickens and going,
hang on a minute, health warning first, because some people may not want to hear that.
Yeah, okay, fair point. Suffice it to say that the males that hatch are disposed of on the day they hatch.
Right.
Yeah, so 50% of everything that fights its way out of that shell, it takes 24 hours to fight its way out of that shell, doesn't get 24 hours of life.
And the same is true of any hen which is bought commercially. You know, for a pet, for example, somewhere there is cockle that's been hatched and something has happened to that cockle. How many cockles do you see compared to hens?
Yeah.
That should tell you everything you need to know.
Yeah.
So just rewind a second. So we're now still talking about the Tesco chickens.
Yeah.
Every one of them is female. Every one that you go and buy for £3 or £4 is female.
No. So there's divide. So there's two kinds of chickens commercially. There is what's called broilers, which are your meat chickens.
Yeah.
And then there's the egg-laying breeds, which are optimized purely to produce eggs, which honestly, when you look at them, they have no breast meat. They're very skinny. They are just kind of egg-producing machines.
Yeah.
So they have to be female. Clearly.
Yeah. So the egg-producing machines have to be female. The broilers are the one that are pretty much genetically produced now to grow to maturity in 6 weeks.
So it doesn't matter if they're male or female.
No, it doesn't matter if they're male or female from an edibility point of view. So what we do is we go with the old breeds. They take 6 months to grow to maturity. Yeah. We let the males live, and they get to run around in a big open field and live in the orchard and have a lovely time for 6 months until they reach maturity. You know, certainly for 16, 18 weeks as a minimum, isn't it? You know?
Yeah. Normally 20.
So we think that's a better way of doing it. But,
yeah, definitely.
But it's much more labour intense, you know. And again, a lot of people, when you are trying to produce eggs to a cost, you're producing these specialist egg laying machines, which aren't very good for meat. So that's why they just dispose of the cock birds at hatch. But if you're like us, you go, well, we'll produce a kind of what's called a utility breed, a dual purpose breed for eggs and meat. So they don't lay quite as many eggs, and they're not quite as large as a meat bird, but they do both purposes. And that's what cottages would have raised for hundreds of years, something that satisfied both purposes. And the type we grow as well, we grow a type called Buff Orpington, and we breed them, and they're also naturally breeding. So they rear their own young, effectively. The hens, in late spring, early summer, they're broody, they will sit on eggs, the eggs will hatch, and they'll, basically rear them up to teenagerhood, I suppose, really. But very few chicken breeds now actually they all have it bred out of them, the commercial breeds, because when the hen is sat on eggs and rearing chicks, she stops laying.
Yeah.
Well, the commercial, egg producers don't want a hen that stops laying, so they're all hatched in incubators and kind of raised in these enormous barns without, a parent to show them what to do. And it's kind of it's not a life we would like, really. No. So,
that's going
but I think that's part of why we do what we do. And it's not just that, it's also things like, the veg growing. We grow varieties of food. Chilies is a classic for me. I'll get my soapbox for chilies. Go to your average supermarket, and if you're really, really lucky and you're in a bigger branch, you'll get a choice of 4 chilies. Maximum. Now, the reality is I don't know the true number, because depending on which website you look at, it's anything between 3,000 and 10,000 varieties of chilies. And the only way you get to experience those flavours is to grow your own. And we grow things like lemon algae or the lemon drop chili, which is like really
lovely
flavours. Beautiful chili, isn't it? Grew one for the last few years called Chihuahua Negro, which is horribly expensive if you can never find it to buy dry. And it's like it's almost black. It's a really dark chocolate brown colour.
Makes the best fermented chili sauce.
Absolutely, the best kind of Tabasco type sauce. But it's a really deep, smoky kind of chocolatey flavour. It's wonderful.
He just likes saying shellac egg.
I do, yeah. One of the Mexican ones, but I love doing that stuff. It's like you get to experience and even things like the humble parsnip. If you buy one in the supermarket, goodness knows how long it's been out of the ground.
Oh yeah.
It's gone all woody and dried and nasty.
Doesn't taste like a parsnip.
A proper parsnip that's kind of you're still brushing the dirt off when it goes in the oven. It's still sweet and it's juicy.
Lovely.
Yeah.
That's when you parsnip seed heads as well. The amount of people that come to our place and go, what the hell is that?
They're beautiful.
7 foot high with these gorgeous heads on them. I love them.
Phenomenal, aren't they?
I think they're an amazing thing, actually. I even learned about the parsnip moth through seed-saving parsnips. And occasionally you'll get one of those beautiful umbellifer seed heads off a parsnip. And it almost looks like it's got spider web on it.
Yeah.
And that's actually the larvae of the parsnip moth. And you kind of go, what a specialised little insect that must be. How the hell does it survive these days when there's leaves and the people in the north of Scotland are the only people who produce parsnips?
Exactly. Exactly. I could think of here, because I'm pretty rural, so there's me and there's old John across the river over there, and that's it. I don't know anybody else who grows vegetables, even in a village. We're in a tiny little village.
Absolutely. I think it's a very strange thing, when you start getting into this stuff, and you do realise that there is so much more to the world than you kind of ever imagine when you get all your food shrink wrapped, really, and you spend your life in a little artificial cave as we are at the moment.
I know. But what's even worse, shrink wrap and prepared now.
Oh yeah.
My sister-in-law gets everything prepared. It's all chopped and mashed and sliced and peeled. Oh my good God.
I mean, I can sort of get it for commercial restaurants and stuff. There are certain things that take time to produce. I mean, I'll kind of bore you that one of my things is I really love doing like Chinese food, Oriental cooking, Thai food and all that. I do a lot of it for chef. I'll get quite obsessive about fried rice. So to make a good fried rice, it has to be day-old rice. When you fry it, you cannot do it with freshly cooked rice.
No.
So it basically has to absorb up all its liquid and cools, and then the grains are nice and separate. But I get so upset about it. It's like, well, if you cook white rice in water, you've really cleverly combined a starch that tastes of nothing with a liquid that tastes of nothing.
Taste of nothing.
But what we do is we use jasmine rice, and then the carcasses of the chickens that we've roasted, we make our own stock. And if you produce, your rice from jasmine rice cooked in chicken stock, now you're talking about,
what you're describing actually is quite time intensive. I mean, if you've got a busy family with 2 kids, you're working, you're going out at 8 o'clock in the morning, you're not coming home to 6 p.m. at night, and your time is really limited. You're probably going to have to do some work on the weekend just to catch up with admin or bits and bobs. The amount of time to actually learn how to do this stuff, let alone do it, is just so compressed these days.
It is, but for me, that's the problem with society, is that, we were it. We did it. You get it's almost like you become a hamster on a wheel.
Yeah.
You kind of.
Oh, we've had a midlife crisis. We are old.
Yeah.
It's out there right now. We are old.
And
we've had 2 midlife crises, haven't we?
Crises. But yeah, this is the thing, isn't it? It's like, well, you've got to work in the city because that's where the jobs are, but that's where the houses are expensive. So you have to work even harder. And then, of course, when you're working even harder, you've got to have the nice suit and the nice car because your life's miserable. You better have a foreign holiday, so you need to. And it just becomes this kind of.
Oh, yeah.
And if you ask, and then, of course, you get into, and we've done this, and we did this in a video, we actually looked at the fact of, are people happier living in cities or living in the countryside? Just stand back. Well, I'm not going to give my opinion. We did the research, we got all the academic papers, and the short answer was, if you live in a city, you are going to live 4 years less. You're going to have terrible respiratory disease. You're 5 times more likely to be a victim of violent crime. You're 3 times more likely to have a significant mental health issue.
And the violent crime thing was the thing that shocked me, because all the people we know that have moved out of the cities, the countryside, have been terrified that they feel so exposed with all these fields around them.
Yeah.
And the likelihood of you falling victim to a home burglary out in the sticks is far, far less than living in a flat in the city.
We were talking about that the other day because, I totally get it. I totally get it. There was a woman alone, and they were saying about, people go, oh, haven't you got any street lights? Street lights, we haven't got any pavement. We haven't got any road markings. Half the roads haven't even got any tarmac. And then they go like, well, aren't you frightened? We go for a night walk, when it's when you've been working all day, you don't have a lot of choice, go for a walk at night. Oh, you're worried about being attacked. The answer is, by what?
Who's going to lie in wait on a random rural street corner?
Exactly.
And off chance somebody walks at night, really?
That is the point, isn't it? Those wrong-uns, those nasty people, and of course they're out there in society. They're hanging around the pubs and clubs looking for, vulnerable people in town centres. They're not stood in the middle of a field full of cabbages out in the sticks, are they?
No, definitely not.
After waiting for a rando to come along.
I thought it was actually quite funny. Around here, there was a campaign about street lighting a few years ago, wasn't there?
Yeah, it was, yeah.
Yeah, turn them off. Because there were only 4 street lights within the parish.
And they were all directly opposite people's houses that were in the middle of nowhere, and it really annoyed them.
Yeah.
So
they had these street lights shining in the living room.
Yeah. Please turn off all the street lights in the parish, and they did.
Yeah.
I thought there was quite a few other people, I think, wanted to do a bit of stargazing and, all of that. And you do notice that, actually, out in the country. You suddenly realise that we've got stars.
Amazing stars.
Yeah. But you go into a town, and all you've got is that kind of orangey glow, isn't it, from all the street lights and car lights and everything else, and you really can't see them. It's tough. I've got no solutions. I just wish more people could, because everyone we talk to will look at us living in our little country cottage with our wood burner and no bills and go, oh, what a wonderful life. I just wish more people could do it rather than wants to do it.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, but the whole point of our YouTube channel is everyone can do a little bit of it.
Very much.
You know, even if they can't get to this where we are at the moment, there's little bits they can do. Even if it's growing a chili plant in their front room, you know, in their flat, that's accessible to everybody. But I mean, I'm not saying it was easy for us to get here either. There was huge amounts of compromise. I mean, we worked all over the country to stash the cash to pay for this place. We didn't live near family. We didn't live near friends. And
No. But I think it's, you know, that's why I'm kind of in that place of I don't know what, but we're doing something wrong here. You know, as a society, we're just not quite got hold of it. So many people want to live in a way they can't. You know, it's like, well, is that really sensible then? You know, I don't know. I certainly think we will increasingly see that things like food production are going to become more and more and more important over time. And I think there will be a return to, you know, people valuing those skills. I think, you know, I suppose that's a lot of what we're about, is trying to make sure as much as possible those skills don't get lost, because it's so easy for things to get lost. You know, the ability to graft a fruit tree, which, you know, people have been doing for 1,000 years. And you can do it with a penknife and the old traditional way when I was a boy. You know, no grafting cake. Remember the mother's pride bags?
Yeah.
Yeah, they were stretchy plastic, and that's what all the old country boys in Devon used to graft their fruit trees with. Was like you'd cut them with your penknife, and you get a bit of the, you know, obviously empty, otherwise your wife would batter you. But you know, you get the empty mother's pride bag and cut it into strips and wrap with that. And it worked. Yeah, worked absolutely brilliant.
you make it sound really noble. The reality is, we didn't want to work in an office anymore.
No, absolutely. Yeah.
I was going to say, can we tell people, you know, go back a bit and see where you came from and why you've chosen this life?
Yeah. Do you want to go first?
I'm an accountant by trade, and I mean,
same as my wife.
Yeah, I work for some really big firms and finance director at various organisations, and hated it with a passion in the end. Started working for myself, which actually meant that we could start living around the country, and we started living, because we were in places for a very short period of time. We would rent places, and we would rent in the sticks and, you know, on little farms and things, and absolutely loved it, and gradually started to do more. And then I got into one job which I think if I'd carried on, I would have had a heart attack. I was working 13 days out of 14.
Yeah.
I was driving an hour and a half to work in the morning, and if I got home in under 2.5 hours at night, I was lucky. On a Friday, 4 hours driving home, I count my lucky stars. It was killing me.
That's not worth any amount of money, is it?
Yeah, it wasn't at all. And we ended up, I got flu. The only time in my life I've ever had proper flu. I mean, really bad. It took me 6 weeks to get over it. It was so horrible. And we had a sit down and had a discussion at that point, and decided, right, we're going to do something about it. So packed it in. I started my little consultancy, started going around the country. You kind of came along for the ride, didn't you?
Yeah, I mean, I did similar types of work to Fiona in an office base, but I started off in retail as a kid, and I was of an age where we sort of did do almost anything, can I say? So I ended up in IT when EPOS systems first came into retailers. I was kind of drafted into the IT department. I was still at the days of mainframes then. You know, to explain how a shop worked, so they could create an EPOS system, and it was for a firm of some like 5,000 shops. They were not a small firm. And you know, I did that, and I thought it's quite interesting, really. And then the IT director said to me, "Well, do you want a permanent job?" I was like, "Sounds fun."
Yeah.
And then something went on and did more and more and more and more. Became a program manager and then a head of project management for people like Tesco, Lloyd's Pharmacy, B&Q, you know, big big firms with sort of teams and teams of project managers working with. And honestly, I love the work. I've always loved learning about stuff and building stuff, which is why project management really worked for me. I'm one of those people, and I remember somebody very early on in my career said to me, there's two kinds of people in this life, and you've got to figure out which one you are. You've got to be, you're either a person who builds things or you're a person who runs things. And, you know, the two very rarely meet.
Yeah.
And I am definitely a person who likes to build it. The process of discovery and newness and understanding something really kind of fires me up. But when it becomes kind of the routine, you know, same thing every day, then it's, oh, no, that's not for me. I'm kind of disruptive and all the rest of it. But I think project management definitely works for me. But even then, as Rhys said, after a while, in any career, you just, this is what my experience is, it just becomes more and more and more. And you climb the greasy pole, but you end up putting in more hours, and you've always got to be the first one in the office, and you've always got to be the last one to come out.
Actually, you can't see an end to it.
No,
It's for us anyway.
yeah, I lost sight of the thing, and it's right. You work to live, you don't live to work. You know?
Yeah.
And I got to the point where I got that round the wrong way, you know. And Fiona's got a great expression for that, which is work is what we do to pay the bills. Yeah, so many people. If you go to actually, and we do a lot of these kind of talks with societies and clubs and stuff in the evening. You know, sort of garden clubs in WI and those kind of things. And it's very interesting. If you ask people to introduce themselves, you just say to somebody, you know, oh, who are you? And, you know, just who are you? And most of these people will go, you know, I'm John. I'm a mechanic. You know, and they define themselves by their job.
Yeah.
I don't sit there and go, I'm John and I'm really into fishing and I have a nice garden. You know,
Yeah.
things that are actually important to them.
Or I'm married with 2 kids. And
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Or I'm a carer for, or you know, I've got a nice dog. You know, all the things they actually really care about in their life is not how they mentally see themselves.
And that's where we work.
Because their job is a third of their life, at least, isn't it?
Right, yeah. But
no one goes to, well, very few people go to work because it's what really fires them up, what they really want to do. Most people, if they could afford to, would start working tomorrow.
Yeah.
What's the old saying? No one lies on their deathbed. Sorry?
Even if they love their job, I think most people would stop.
Yeah. Well, I say, how many people lie on their deathbed and say, I wish I'd spent more time at work?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, we got to, now obviously, as Fiona says, it's like we're not sitting there going to everybody, oh, we have to come out of school and do that. We had to work hard to start some cash to buy this place so that we could at least try and live the way we want to live.
And then to be fair, we've only just given up all externally paid work. Actually, I resigned from the last externally paid part-time job just before I broke my leg.
Yay!
Perfect timing.
No, well, actually, it was great timing because I would have had to resign anyway because I couldn't have. I mean, I was on weight bearing for nearly 5 months. Yeah, it was.
Yeah, 5 months you couldn't stand. Yeah.
So it wouldn't have worked. So it was a good job. It all came out in the wash in the end. Even though this year, 2024, hated us. It's
been a rough year. I mean, we still earn money, but the thing is now we've got this kind of slightly weird scattergun approach to earning money that we have a lot of, you know, all the things that a lot of people think of as side hustles. We have a lot of small income streams. You know, money from YouTube. We write for Country Smallholder. We write for Practical Poultry. We give talks for people for a fee. And we have our own online shop now, which is becoming increasingly successful. And that all came. It's been weird, hasn't it? This kind of income, because it all stems back to we have an account on Twitter, and as you guys know, on any social, that was when Twitter was still Twitter. On any social media, there's a group of kind of gardeners and smallholders who all kind of hang out and chat and send each other things, you know, do it. And somebody said to us, how do you set up an electric fence then? They got some chickens and they had no clue how to do it. And I'm on Twitter with me phone going, well, you connect this bit to that bit and you shove that bit in over there. And I filmed them like locally. I think at the time you could only do like 30 seconds of video or something.
Something like that.
So it was just like endless little clips of video kind of going connect.
And they got bored with reading them.
Yeah. And one of them went, for God's sake, can you just nail all them together and shove it on YouTube so I can watch the whole thing?
I've been looking for it because that video's been removed because it was woeful.
It was one of the worst things ever. But
yeah, really, it's so embarrassing to watch.
yeah.
I'm watching it.
The weird thing was, we shoved it up there. We literally shoved it up there. It was the only way we could share a video with somebody at the other end of the country.
Yeah.
They were like, we put it up there with the intent of she could watch it, and then we'd just forget about it. And then people started watching it, didn't they?
Yeah.
And it was really quite weird. And there was like other people that we'd never met were watching it. And it was like, why would they watch it? So we did a bit more, and then did a bit more, and then all of a sudden, companies started talking to us about, you know, and we've actually, it's got, I mean, you guys must have had this as well. I mean, you know, you get approached by companies and like a lot of them are complete chances, aren't they? Selling absolute dross, you know? It's the only way I can do it.
Yeah.
But suddenly we were dealing with quality UK firms who actually sold quality gear, and they were like, you know, could you are product X or you know what have you? And if they were decent people, and we thought that's a product we would actually start, because somebody said to us about incubation, and we filmed the incubator that we bought for. And this is what we do. This is how it works, and this is how you set it up, and you know, yada yada yada. And that video went really well. And then Brinsley, the company who make, you know, they make the best incubators in the world, said to us, "Oh, would you like to review a different one?" And we were like, "Oh, okay, yeah."
But don't get me wrong, it took about 3 years before we got to that point because I mean it was at the beginning it was soul destroying because you've got to have a certain amount of subscribers, and I think it's 40,000 watch hours per annum plus 1,000 subscribers, and it takes a long time to build that up. You get to a point and then the momentum kind of kicks in. And it took us 10 months, and then at that point you monetize and they pay you first check. And then first check, so 10 months of work, putting out at least one, if not 2 videos a week, and we get a check for 20 quid. It's kind of soul destroying.
And in fairness, the owner's exaggerated, right? Because the reality is they don't pay you until you've got 20 quid, and it took us 2 months to get the 20. We didn't quite have enough the first month, so month 2 we got our 20 quid check, and it was like almost paid for 50 checks, didn't it? Yeah.
We almost gave up at that point.
Yeah, and a lot of people do. It's quite a grind. But you know, yeah, it is different now. But it has all kind of led on to other things. Yeah. I mean, really lucky that we have a fantastic relationship now with a number of these really good UK companies. And they have, you know, there was actually 2 of them within a week said to us, "Well, God, will you open a shop?" Because
when the first one said it, we said no. Yeah. You know, we've not thought about that. That sounds like too much hassle. And then I think it was 4 or 5 days later, the other firm said,
"Yeah,
you really got to open a shop."
And we went, "No." So that's now become a very major part of our, you know, I mean, we sort of thought, well, we'll do a little bit of it. We'll see if it goes anywhere. I'll tell you one thing. When you've been an IT program manager, so at one point I had 55 project managers working for me, all of whom had teams of programmers and analysts and all of that working for them. I'm like strutting around saying how long things should take. When you try, then you have to do it all yourself. You know what I mean? They're trying to figure out how to create their own website rather than, you know, pontificating in a bloody meeting room. Oh yeah, that was a bit of a rude awakening, wasn't it? Yeah.
Lots of effing and blaming at that point.
Yes. But you know what? That's the soul as well, isn't it? You go back to your roots and you kind of do all of this stuff. And actually, one of these.
It's how that.
Exactly. I mean, it's some of the people we get exposed to now is just awesome, isn't it?
It's brilliant, yeah.
We had this one lady that rang us up, and it was like, "I want to build an electric fence," and we're like, "Okay, well, I can help with that." Yeah, and you just wanted a bit of help and advice and whatnot. Well, yeah. What do you want it for? Oh, pigs. Oh, yeah, we can certainly do that. You know,
it need to be?
Yeah, how long do you want the fence to be? And I'm thinking, is it like a 50-metre fence? Is it closing an area where the hedge doesn't go? Or what is it? Well, at least a kilometre. Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly. Like, how many pigs are you going to put in a kilometre long electric fence? Oh,
Wow.
oh. Yeah, 4 pigs,
Yeah.
kilometre long. Rewilding project in the grounds of a stately home.
Yeah.
I mean, awesome. Like, you mean we can get involved in that? And I'm like, and I'm sitting there doing the maths kind of work. And I was like, and I'm sure if you guys have ever worked with pigs, you know, it's like, you can't make anything delicate if you want not to escape through it. They're kind of excavators, you know?
Yeah.
So we kind of working through all of this stuff. And I'm like, so we need to give you a few extra poles to the normal spacing because, you know, it's in rough land and yada, yada, yada. And I'm like, that's 440 poles. You know, so actually better rig up the company, make sure they've got enough. And this was literally, I mean, it all had to come on pallets. You know, this was not the smallest thing in the world, but
No.
fabulous thing to be engaged. And this is what I'm iron pig, you know, the kind of wild boar, cross camber, iron egg pigs. And we can actually get involved in stuff like that. That's not the only one of those kind of projects we've been involved in. And just to be able to sort of, you know, take our knowledge and get involved in something that's, you know, doing stuff with the landscape and doing really interesting projects like that. That's just, for me, so much more.
Did you get to go to the site and see it all and see it happen?
They've come back, actually. They bought some more stuff from.
Yeah, they have got invite. I won't give their names away because we haven't spoken to them, but suffice it to say, after we got the order, we didn't really understand to start with who was involved, and they gave us a name, and your shipping address, and of course, you know, oh, thank you very much, yeah, talk soon, like Google, you know.
Honestly, the place is amazing.
Yeah, I mean, put it this way, it makes Downton Abbey look a bit shabby.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like monstrous great stately home in parkland and woodland, and like, oh yeah, it's a beautiful place, but it's being increasingly run as an animal sanctuary, which is what the owners want. And it's just like, yeah, I mean, I love what we've done here. I mean, my proud boast was in our little patch. We got up to 62 tree species.
It's a little patch.
And it's a little patch. And I'm kind of looking at what the scale of what they're doing, and you think, yeah, okay, I can stop being proud now. Into a corner of their mucky, you know. It's all good. It's all rewarding. You know? I mean, it's so fantastic. And I do love that we can actually get involved with people doing really interesting stuff. You know.
And then, of course, we had the chap who called us because his wife wanted some pigs, and he wanted to set up an area which was 500 metres of fencing, and we kind of worked out everything he needed because he had no idea whatsoever. He never called us back once he saw how much. I think he must have told his wife no.
Yeah.
And imagine it's not cheap.
No. Can I keep the badgers off my veg patch? We've had many times, haven't we? You know, somebody's got a badger using a veg patch for a latrine, which, if you've ever experienced it, they are creatures of habit. Once they get in the, you know, they create a scrape, and then they'll use that as a latrine, and they'll just come back to it. You kind of, as a gardener, you fill it all in, and you know, you've just feeded it. It's a nice bit of soft earth for them to dig in, isn't it? You know, because then they just back the next night doing it again. So yeah. I can see why people get frustrated with that.
Yeah, but it's we love talking to the customers. We really do.
Oh yeah,
it's the best bit of it because the vast majority of everything we sell we actually use, so we can actually talk to them about our experiences with it.
Yeah.
Well, you know, if you've got that isn't quite going to work, but you know, if you try this instead, or go for that instead of this, or don't buy that, that's not worth your while with what you've got.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, we get that constant.
Sells out of money a few times.
Yeah, tell people out purchases, but that's fine. But we also get them like ring us up 2 years later and go, "Oh, this has happened. Can you help?" And it's just like an advice call. You know, there's no money there. But what we've actually found that I suppose we're trying to create is, I mean, don't get me wrong, right? Rural dweller, I think Amazon is fantastic. You know, if I need a new biro, I can go on Amazon. It'll be in the post box tomorrow. You know? And I'm not one who's going to, you know, I know a lot of people go, oh, those big firms. It's like, honestly, goodness, you know, people who live well out in the sticks used to have very little choice of what they could buy. It was what the local market town held, and that was your lot.
Yeah.
So I'm not dissing those guys at all. But one of the things I will say, online retailers generally offer very little advice, guidance, expert input into your purchase.
And if you do talk to someone on customer services, they've essentially got a script of what the product can do. No experience for the products whatsoever.
So they've probably never even seen the product out of the box before.
No,
Exactly.
definitely not.
But, yeah,
Exactly.
At best, if they've either got a short couple of paragraphs or at best an instruction manual. And if it's not in there, they've got no lived experience of it whatsoever.
No. And that's what we don't want to be. So anybody who rings our shop gets Fiona or me.
Yeah.
And if we don't understand it, we don't sell it.
No.
And like so many times we've gone, have you got like WhatsApp? And they'll go, yeah. I'll go, hang on, I'll call you back. Right? And you WhatsApp them back and you go onto video and you go, look, this is the product that you're talking about.
Yeah.
And this is how the chicken interacts with it. And this is, we're like walking around videoing the inside of coops or different types of feeders and stuff and showing it to them.
Yeah.
And I think, that's something we can offer that the Amazons and the eBays of this world never will be able to offer.
And it's a nice bit of the job, actually, getting to talk to people.
It is.
Anyway.
Yeah. Sorry, we've been going on.
That's all right. I love it.
We have a question.
We'll get on the box now. We'll bring our blood pressure back. Or rather, Hugh will.
Yeah, absolutely. So,
Mark, you say there's a question?
Yeah, Sissy said, what's your favourite part of the day/night?
Getting the chickens up in the morning and actually picking the coops first thing in the morning. And I know that sounds funny, but at the moment, because it's cold, I make up hot mash using the wrong growers pellets at the moment, because most of them are molting. So the wrong growers pellets, and I make up a warm mash in dog food bowls and take them out, and I get to sit with them, and I pick the coops, and I have about an hour out there with them, and no one's around, and it's nice and fresh, and it's just lovely. That's my favourite bit of the day.
But I'd go the other way, actually, I think, and I like the evenings. Now, we do have the one thing I'll say with Fiona is we have a little, them little kind of faux cast iron patio outdoor furniture things where you get a little round table and a couple of cheap chairs.
Yeah.
One of them.
Bistro set.
That's the words, yeah. You got the proper one, yeah. Thanks, Jerry. Bistro set. Oh, yes, in Lincolnshire we don't have bistros, we have cafes around here, mate.
I'm only across the border in Norfolk, don't worry.
But yeah, we got one of them just by the chicken enclosure, so it's just at the edge of the orchard. In like we got our, when I say chicken enclosure, it sounds small. Our chicken enclosure is 250 meters. I mean, it's monstrous. But we got that set up, and then what we've always did, because we did find the trouble when you both work on a small audience, you tend to disappear off and do different jobs, and you kind of, although you're working together, you don't see each other that much. Yeah. And we made the rule that when we have our morning,
you ring each other.
Yeah,
do you want a cup of tea?
But we had a rule. And we do, particularly in the summer, that we would take, the French press of coffee out there with 2 mugs, we'll sit there, and we'll have 15 minutes, and we'll talk about what we're going to do of the day, and the chickens are all kind of running around us, and we got, where we are, because we're right on the edge of the wash, so we're like seabird heaven round here. So there'll be curlews calling, and there'll be, pink-footed geese flying over, and all of that. And do you know what? There's worse ways to spend 15 minutes of your life in, surrounded by incredible, greenery, wildlife, livestock, all the rest of it. It's like, and I think it is actually, the old poem about you have no time to stand and stare, there's a lot of truth in that. And I think, again, a lot of us that live country lives, if you're not careful, get back to being on the treadmill, and every now and again you've got to sit back and just enjoy what you've done.
Yeah, we've got a very, very good friend of ours who's got the most beautiful garden you've ever seen, and she's never actually sat in it and just admired the work that she's put in. And I keep saying to her, why don't you sit and have a cuppa? Why don't you just sit and enjoy what you've done? Well, I'm constantly looking for all these things which I need to do, and I'm looking at that too, but I'm also thinking, God, I've done this.
Yeah.
I've made it. I'm very proud of particularly my flower. I mean, I love the fruit that I grow, but I'm particularly proud of my flower garden. And, you know, we created it from brambles and nettles that were there when we first moved in, the 6 foot high. And I love it. I think it's beautiful now.
Yeah. I think that's something everyone has to learn as a gardener, or anyone who grows anything, is it's never done.
Yeah.
It's never finished.
No.
You never will be perfect. You know, it's not even a journey, it's a lifestyle, isn't it? It's an experience. And this, you cannot then strive, you know, and I think this is again part of the way we're brought up. We're striving for perfection, we're striving for advancement, we're striving to get on to the next thing, rather than realising that, you know, and a great expression is, you know, life is a journey and it's only got one destination, you know. You might as well enjoy the journey.
It was the thing which I struggled more than anything when we moved here, because I was used to starting a task and I would have a defined end point and I'd be able to do it in one day or a couple of hours or whatever. Every job I've had to do since moving here, I've not been able to complete on the same day. I can't think of, I don't think I can think of one job. So I have to think of it now as whatever I do today, I don't have to do tomorrow.
Yeah. Make some progress, but don't feel like you've got to finish.
Yeah.
You know? And I do love that. And I love the fact that when we planted mulberry trees, you know, white and black, we'll never see them at full size. But so what? You know, someone will.
Yeah, they will.
And the trees that we enjoy, someone else planted, didn't they?
Yeah.
You know,
Of course.
You know, my pact with the world is somebody's made all the things we love.
Yeah.
So we have to make things for other people to love.
Of course, yeah.
You know, I think that's actually really important. We lose sight of that, don't we?
I reckon if we ever sell this place and move out there, our little field will become a pony paddock.
Almost certainly. Different people love different things. I mean, I think again, when you grow, you realise you created the perfect garden. That's perfect garden for you.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, it's not perfect for everybody else.
No, the perfect garden you created 10 years ago is not probably perfect for you now.
No.
No, mine's all flowers and ornamental, beautiful structures, and now it's fruit. Lots of fruit, and I'm addicted to fruit.
But nothing lasts, does it? Nothing lasts.
Can you see a theme there? Fruit.
Actually, when you first moved in, just behind this wall, there was a very old pear tree. And as we were alluding to earlier, you know, I'm not frightened of a chainsaw, but I was frightened of that tree. Because it literally grew between the two mains electric wires. So, you know, when you get the wires coming in, it's going up between them. And I'm like, and it was dead. I'm looking at this thinking, oh, not a million years. You will see my hair stand on end if I do that. So we did have a lovely local tree person drop it for us.
Yeah.
And then I looked at this thing, like riddled with, you know, larvae and, you know, all sorts of stuff. It must have been dead for a number of years. And we looked at it in a little area that we were redeveloping, and I cut a notch into it, where an old branch had come out. And that notch was where I would put my coffee cup. For 10 years, I would sit on that as my bench, this fallen tree stump. And we've moved it now because we've redeveloped that area. But we've still got it, and it's gradually now, 16 years later, I reckon it's got 5 years left.
Yeah, but to be fair, the greater spotted insect family that have been growing over the generations have eaten it and stripped to bits to get the larvae.
Oh, yeah, and I mean, so many little birds are kind of like pecking at, you know, the little larvae that are all around it. Plants growing out of the mulch that it's created as it's rotting down. And it's just, you know, that's sort of almost that sort of entropy. It's just, it's fascinating. I mean, who's ever watched a tree return to the soil? You know? And the fact of being able to do that is such a privilege, isn't it? You know?
Oh, yeah, it's amazing. When you sit and actually think about it, like you've just said, all the way down the line.
Yeah.
That's nature, isn't it? But we don't get to see it, really.
And that, I think, is, that's what kind of, I know I'm not good at expressing myself, but it's like that. I say a lot of words, but I don't express myself very well. But I do think I wish more people could do that. That I think people are divorced from that kind of magic now in so many ways. And it's I mean, the other night I went on the gate and skeins of pink footed geese were going over us. Now, when I say skeins, I mean north of 2,000 geese flew over us in a minute. Enormous bees with hundreds of geese per bee, and there was multiples of them across the sky, wasn't there? One after another, after another, after another.
That day. It was amazing.
And that costs nothing to sit, and you can literally hear each other talk in the honking. It's so loud. They're only like 20 yards up.
Yeah.
And our lovely neighbours, the ones we've been sort of talking about, were sort of almost shooting us texts going, "Are you seeing this?" And that's 2-3 weeks before that we had the Northern Lights.
Yeah, we had that. Yeah, that was amazing.
Yeah, and it's like that's what life does. But life doesn't have to cost a fortune.
Would have been a good job for us, man. I mean, that's the thing, we don't have the disposable income we used to have, but, we're not getting out of bed at 6 o'clock in the morning thinking, oh, I'm dreading the day, and we're not getting going to work in the dark, coming home in the dark, having done a job which, quite frankly, we despise, and we're dealing with people who also despise their job. And they are most of the people that you go to work with, and this is a really cynical view. I keep saying to people who get very upset that they've fallen out with someone at work, are you ever going to invite this person around to your house for a barbecue? And if the answer is no, don't worry about it. They are a work colleague. They're not a friend. If they're not coming to your house for a barbecue, you work with them. It doesn't matter. It's all about, are you able to do your job? That's it. It's and now we get to choose the people we spend time with. It's flipping wonderful.
Yeah.
But we got no cash.
No cash. Can't afford to go to the pub, but to be fair, if you buy a round of drinks at a pub now, you might as well just
take them all.
I was going to say, here's my car keys, and we've got guys, mates will turn up, lovely mates come to the games, bring us something or to the fat. So we brew our own beer, we make our own mead, we make our own wine, and it's like, have a beer, and we'll sit in the garden, and it's homebrewed beer at 30 pence a pint, but I'll put it up against half the rubbish that's sold in pubs anyway.
In fact, we have competitions. Our little hamlet of houses, we do have competitions on brewing.
Brilliant.
Fun in summer, really good.
It is, yeah. I'm not going to say I'll win it though, because we have a wonderful neighbour, Sue, who's if you ever see a camo-clad Dewey stalking things with a rifle, it is Sue, who's a lovely lady. Should we say past retirement age? I'm not going to go any further than that.
Well past retirement age.
Yeah. Rabbit and pigeon lasagna. It's
amazing.
To die for.
Yeah.
I kid you not. I'm afraid her homebrew knocks mine. Not lots of mine. She grows her own hops and the whole thing.
It's amazing. Yeah. Absolutely amazing. Love the woman.
That was amazing.
Probably been said that it's white round here. I mean, we've always said, about a mile up the road, we should put up a sign that says you're now entering 1950.
Anyway, what you want to talk about tonight? I feel like we've gone off the tangent.
Yeah, so
it's fine. Can we talk about your growing space, your growing food, please?
Absolutely. So, okay, we work predominantly on a system of raised beds. When I say raised beds, probably enclosed beds is a better way of putting it. I am not going to lie. I stole the ideas wholesale from some chap, you probably never heard of him, called John Seymour, who wrote The Complete Guide to Self-Sufficiency.
I've heard of it.
Upon which they based The Good Life, the BBC TV series, and all the rest of it. But John wrote a better book, a much better book. And if you ever see a copy, it's out of print now. If you ever see a copy, buy it. And it's called The Self-Sufficient Gardener.
I think that's the one you got recently.
I've got it, yeah.
Yeah,
I've got it. I bought it 3 weeks ago, but I haven't read it yet.
Right, if you look in there, John talks about the perfect bed structure for growing food, and it's about optimizing production rather than being pretty. And so his view, and we've copied it, and I'm going to agree to it, is a bed should be no more than 25 foot long, no more than 4 feet wide, and his rationale for that, and oriented south to north, not ever east to west. And his rationale for that is, if it's 4 foot wide, you can weed to the middle from each side.
Yeah.
So you never have to compress the soil in the middle. And if it's more than 25 foot long, you're going to get bored walking around it.
You're going to hop
I'll
over.
lead it
And he said, if you've got 50 feet long, just make 2 beds with a small walkway in between.
Yeah.
And if it's the south orientation, one bed never shades out another bed.
Yes, because they're all on that north to south axis. Otherwise, if you grow corn, maize in one of the beds,
Yeah.
and and that bed is lengthways along your southern axis, it just shades everything out that's behind it. So we actually literally laid our beds out with a laser level, a compass, a kitchen heart, properly. Now we are incredibly lucky because we are on the wash. So where we are here is 3/4 of a mile from the high tide mark. We were the high tide mark. So literally getting on our garden, you'll bring up chef. But the millennia rather than centuries, there's 3 successive seawalls been built in a kind of Holland way that has literally driven the high tide mark back and back and back. We are at sea level. So about 7 yards that way, he said, pointing as though you could look behind yourselves and see what I'm pointing at. There is a well. But 7 yards that way, we have an underground brick system that's 200 years old. And the reason that captures all the rainwater from the roofs of the steading and the cottage. And the reason that exists is the well is brackish. Literally, the water table is 3 foot down and full.
But it does mean we can use the well water for watering the vegetables.
Absolutely.
But in addition to the vegetable plots, we've also got an extremely large gooseberry plot.
Yeah.
We've also got the orchard where the chickens live. So they run around, because basically, I mean, you can't plant anything underneath trees, can you? But the chickens have natural shade. It actually works well for them. And they've also got a built-in jungle gym with the trees as well, which works really, really well. And I've actually lent up some ladders against some of the trees, so some of the heavier birds can get up quite easily. We've got 2 large fruit cages as well as the gooseberry beds. What else we got? We've got a couple of blueberry cages. We've got 2 large greenhouses.
Rhubarb patch.
Oh yeah, we've got 2 rhubarb patches.
Yeah, 2 rhubarb patches.
And then the herb bed, which has got the medlar trees, the mulberry trees in it as well.
Yeah.
1 cherry tree too.
A quince tree.
And a quince tree.
You can see I get a bit weird, so we've got a bed with mulberries, quinces, medlars. Have you ever grown medlars?
No. I've heard a lot about them recently, to be honest.
Oh, they're amazing.
Partly because as blokes, and I apologise to all the ladies listening, but the end of them are... This is the schoolboy in it. They are known as the dog's bum fruit. Nothing is so much in the world.
I'm glad you said it, because I would have swore Mark would have told me off, because I couldn't. He'd have to edit out.
The thing is, the fruit, once it's blessed, it's just like stewed apple. So actually, rather than making up our own stewed apple and putting it in the freezer, pork, we just have the medlars.
Yeah,
it's just wonderful.
Now, I'm actually going to argue that I think blessed. I'm on a
great
think about words here. Blessed is the word that we really should be, using more often. Isn't that a fantastic word? I mean, meaning kind of starting to rot, I suppose. If you need to measure off the tree, you have to let it start to decay.
In the tree.
The tree, and then take it off usually for about 2 weeks. And I put them in old wooden drawers and just let them sit in one of the dark outbuildings for a couple of weeks. And then effectively you can almost squeeze them, and what comes out is like stewed apple.
Yeah.
It's the same colour. And I would
Oh
argue,
wow! I didn't realise they went that far.
oh yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yes.
It's
Oh.
really, really
But
lovely.
it tastes like stewed apple with cloves. It's
It
got
does, yeah.
that slightly spicy kind of, hint to it. It's a
Yeah.
fabulous flavour.
Oh, I forgot about the edible hedges.
Oh, yeah.
So all the hedges, when we came here, we basically had no hedges practically at all. Any hedges we had were really sparse, and they were mainly fences. But we've now, over the years, we've planted hedges all the way around, and the vast majority of plants we put in are edible. So we've actually got currants and gooseberries in there at the bottom as well. We've obviously got the hazelnuts, and we've got
Walnut, sweet chestnut, wild pear, all sorts of things, Flows probably less so. When we took over this place, I thinned a hedge. And if you ever to upset an eco warrior, what are you doing today? I'm grubbing out a hedge.
to be fair, this thing was 25 foot deep.
This hedge had become. I mean, I don't know if you've ever grown a blackthorn hedge, but they suck it and they come up from under the ground. And this thing has been ignored for a quarter of a century and was literally 25 foot thick of just mass intergrown blackthorn.
There was all this extra space which we could use that was just inaccessible.
Yeah, and it was monoculture. I mean, but what the people who moaned when I grubbed that out didn't realise is what we replaced it with was 25 separate species that supports,
Some of the blackthorn.
Yeah, we still got some blackthorn, but when you suddenly go back to what a more wild woodland would be, it's not all one species.
No.
It's a whole mix of different things that support different creatures and different ecosystems, and you have high and low and medium and all the rest of it. So as he says, edible hedges are fabulous, and the one thing that edible hedges will keep if you get hungry is you'll never be short of a squirrel. You plant hazelnuts, you'll raise a nice crop of squirrels. That's it.
Yeah.
I've never seen so many birds as well.
No, very true.
We laugh when we see all these surveys that say that sparrows are dying out because they're all in our hedges. I think every single sparrow in the country lives in our hedges.
Although, I mean,
thousands of them.
But we do also have, like, we were just sat there the other day, and I don't know if you have like wildlife that you particularly love, but we have a fair of long-tailed tits, and I think they're
little bumblebee.
Yeah, little kind of teddy bear faces, and they go around in a group, don't they? Kind of chittering to each other, like tiniest little things. I mean, wrens. I don't know how. I found out only this week. In fact, I'm going to ask the question: what's the commonest wild bird in Britain?
I heard that as well, and I didn't believe it.
Yeah.
Wrens are the commonest wild bird.
Yeah, but they're the shyest as well, though.
Yeah, and I think that must be what it is. They're so small, and people do refer to them, don't they? The Twitchers refer to them as a little brown job, because all little brown jobs look much alike,
They're also one of the
Yeah, I think, volume of birdsong for size of body, they're amazing,
Yeah.
You haven't lived either until you've actually had a sparrowhawk fly within inches of your nose following a sparrow. I was actually filming for one of our YouTube videos when that happened. And when it caught this sparrow, it actually crashed into one of the chicken coops.
Oh.
And I was just sitting there going,
not quite sure.
Never seen anything like it. It was absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
But if you've never seen a long-tailed tit's nest, when you actually see one in reality for the first time, it's just mind-blowing. It's so cute. It's like this little hummingbird's nest, but they're so tiny and the tails are so long. The tails stick out through the hole.
If you imagine a coconut, that's what it looks like, isn't it? It's made of moss, but it looks like a coconut with a hole drilled. And when they're in, you just see the little tail poking out the hole, because the tail's so long.
It's sweet. It really is.
Lovely. We've had a whole, hedges full of them, haven't we? Goldfinches as well.
Oh, yeah.
Goldfinches.
Like supply goldfinches.
20 or 30 pairs in the garden at a time, like, It's amazing.
Yeah, I've seen some goldfinches this last year around ours.
It's nice to see again, isn't it? I don't remember seeing them that much, a few decades ago, but there's loads of them around now. Or maybe it's just where we've all moved to.
Possibly,
yeah. Mistle thrushes as well. I love it. I mean, song thrushes are nice, but mistle thrushes are just the most beautiful birds, Absolutely gorgeous. We have got them nesting now, haven't we?
Yeah, I'm just thinking thinking that we've never been twitchers, but I think we are now.
Yeah,
Sounds like it.
Yeah,
one of
by
the,
default, I think we are.
yeah, one of the things I think that I found life changing to any of your listeners, if they've never tried it, if you've got any kind of smartphone, there's an app called Merlin. As it,
Heard of this?
yeah, the wizard in the King Arthur books, Merlin, and it's made by Cornell University. This app. And basically, you turn it on, and it's got to identify by sound. And if you can hear a bird, you put the app, and it'll tell you what the bird is. And
It's
it's
amazing, isn't it?
almost instant. And even if you keep it running, it'll go, oh yeah, you've got blackbird, red kite, carrion crow, raven, and each of the names flashes up as they're calling.
Oh, wow.
Like, yeah, if you imagine we go down onto the wash and we
Yeah,
can
we got the strangest combination the other day. We had the moon, we had,
skylark and raven all
yeah,
at the same time. Yeah, on the wash, you can see for 20 miles in every direction, and it's just you there. There's nobody else in sight, except for about a gazillion seabirds, isn't there? And it's really useful because a lot of the time you see them flying kind of 200 yards away. You have no idea what they are.
Yeah.
And the ability to actually go, oh, that's a redshank, or what have you, a plover, or that really is it's taking you decades to learn.
Amazing technology.
It is absolutely stunning. I mean, I can decry some bad stuff that technology's done, but the ability to do that, just to go, what bird is that I can hear? Oh, yeah, okay, well, that is stunning. Really, really good.
Only that.
Yeah, everything else
Really
about
good,
technology is rubbish.
Okay.
I'll get the bed.
That Netflix. So yeah, so that was that. I don't know. Anything else? I don't know if that covered about our growing space. It's a bit about our growing space, but I know we rambled off into other things. But yeah, I mean, we're pretty much self-sufficient in meat, fruit, spices, some vegetables. The one thing we can't be, because we don't have the space, is not in what I would describe as bulk carbohydrate. So the growth
where we live, I mean, the farmer down actually Nick, who came to help me when I broke my leg, I mean, he'll regularly drop off cauliflowers, cabbages, kale. The gate this week we've had a couple of Romanesque.
And Tim brought a load of sprouts as well, and
Yeah, he did.
all of that stuff. So yeah, because we're in farming country, and I mean, to be honest, I literally cannot grow main crop potatoes for the price that I can buy them for around here. I mean, we can still buy 55 pounds of main crop potatoes for £6.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, why? There is better use for our land than growing that at that point.
I know exactly what you mean. Yeah.
So yeah, we don't. So I mean, I think it's important to say to people we are that. Not something we do.
Would rather grow blackcurrants or raspberry.
Absolutely. I mean,
tell me you grow some first earlies though. You've got to grow some new potatoes because they're just the best.
Yeah,
right. So,
but we grow those in sacks.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
What happens with all feed sacks, you see?
Yeah, feed sacks get reused.
Yeah.
Because they're easy to earth up because you start with them rolled down and then you gradually roll them up, and then when you want to harvest them, you lift the sack into a wheelbarrow, get the razor blade down the front, it all spills out, and there you go.
Sorry, go on, Hugh.
No, go on.
I was going to say I grew my potatoes in sacks this year, but Hessian sacks. I want them to look quite nice in the allotment because but they worked all right. But the Hessian they dried out quite a bit, so I'm going to go to. My wife Teresa's got horses, so she has lots of feed sacks. So I'm going to use those.
I mean, to keep them looking semi-nice, we turn them inside out, so they're not
inside out. Exactly.
Yeah. And I'm going to make a suggestion. Try it for me next year. Sorry.
Oops.
Sorry. Hello. Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah. Our phone went. I think it's over a minute. So try Sharp Express as a first early if you get the opportunity.
Right,
I think it is.
Yeah.
I've been growing them for years. They were actually developed around here. And if you're old enough to remember Percy Thrower,
Yeah.
they were Percy Thrower's favourite potato of all. They were developed in Sleaford, just up the road.
Yeah, no Sleaford.
I've been for years, and we had a very old neighbour friend. He lived just down the way, an old farmer. He was well into his 90s when he died. And I'd always take him fresh veg and this, that, and the other. I took him some of this Sharps Express. I actually gave him to his daughter to give to him. He was bedbound by this time, and she came back and he went, "Can I buy some more of those potatoes?" My dad says they're like proper potatoes, like he used to have before the war. And she asked me what variety it was, and she went home and told her dad it was Sharps Express. And he went, "Well, we used to bloody grow them in 1940s." Like, the word, the variety that he remembered. And I love talking to that guy. That was fabulous. Because he remembered this place in my lifetime didn't have mains electric, didn't have mains anything. 1970 something, we got mains electricity here. And up to that point, it was still, they would run a generator. And that got turned off at night, so your lights weren't ran on batteries, and you had a battery radio, and that was your light, basically. And we still, to this day, I'll be digging my veg patch, and I'll bring up horseshoes.
Yep.
Even after the war, they're still ploughing the fields that we now work were being ploughed by Shire horses.
And bizarrely, bits of pig.
Oh yes, lots of bits of pigs. Yeah.
When we first started digging the ground, there was lots and lots of pig jaws, and it turns out you used to run pigs on the little bit of land.
I suppose that's good, isn't it? You let the pigs run on there for a season, and then start growing on it next year.
I was, when we were first putting in those beds, I pulled out a handful of teeth into the world where it looks human, and I did have a bit of a kind of weird moment until I asked Morgan about it, and he went, "That's pigs." Because of course, again, going back then, they would kill their own pigs. There was none of this. It didn't go off to the abattoir or any of that.
No.
They processed it all themselves. And because once you realise that, you just go, "Oh, it's quite interesting." Then, it's quite nice, really.
But it's a bit freakish the first time you bring up teeth from the soil.
Yeah, very odd.
I bet.
And another corner, I brought up about 20 little glass bottles marked Garstons.
Yeah.
And it turns out that that was the original name of HP sauce before it became HP sauce.
Really?
I think it was Norman father or grandfather had been an addict of that on his bacon sandwiches from these pigs. And there was a bit of a dip in the land, so the empties just got turfed into it, which again, I like that. I like that bit of history.
A load of lots of good stuff as well, because what we also found underneath the nettles and the brambles when we bought the place was piles and piles and piles and piles of bricks covered with old carpet, which we didn't discover until we started flailing down all of the brambles and nettles which were on top. So, I'll leave you to imagine the language that was coming out of the tractor drivers.
I can imagine. Oh dear.
Well, it's like that, right? I don't know if you can actually see behind us. I don't know if you can see this, but that is actually an apple tree that's holding the house up. So, they didn't bother actually shaping it into squares. That is just the trunk of an apple tree that just got used as an upright, because we've got one.
That's amazing.
Wow.
Yeah, it's kind of cool, isn't it? The trouble of that is some of it's good, some of it's not.
Yeah.
The doorways in this house have hospitalised 3 people because they are 5 foot. And of course, you remember the first 12 times, don't you? But we'll have somebody in for a drink or something, and by the time they've had a couple of whiskies, and then they'll
You say 5 foot, but they're actually not standard size.
No.
The doorway to this room is actually the shortest. And the first one was actually when he was fitting, we've got one of our wood burners behind us. You won't be able to see it, it's slightly off screen. And it was the guy who was fitting it. And we warned him about the doorway. Yeah. Next minute, all the skin had come off the top of his head.
Oh.
Yeah, it was straight down to Amy, literally taking the entire skin off the top of his head.
Scalped himself.
Yeah, he was fine. But he had to have a few stitches and kind of put it back together again, So, but there's still, it's the funny thing is, and that's what it's like around here. There's Stuart, the guy. So this was the father-in-law of the guy who fitted our stoves, who was helping him. And he's still a good buddy of ours.
Yeah.
And he used to sweep our chimneys in exchange for borrowing our cider press. And I think
Perfect.
any world where you can get your chimney swept for lending someone a cider press
Yeah.
is the kind of world I want to live in.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, things I know, I paid £175 for 2 chimneys to be swept about 3 or 4 months ago, so it's worth it.
Oh, that's frightening. Yeah.
I think we'll keep using Stuart.
Yes, well, yeah. I mean, it genuinely is like that, Randy. I mean, I recently just we use wild venison because deer are a big problem around here.
Oh, tell me about it.
Yeah. So we one of our neighbours is involved in a properly managed deer cull. It's not that I wipe them out; it's taking out the old ones that wouldn't make it through the winter, and all of that. Proper good management stuff. He wanted some chicks earlier in the year. So we hatched him some chicks in one of our incubators, and a few months later he popped along with an entire roe deer for us, which goes up on the block and tackle in my workshop, and then that's our red meat for the winter.
Lovely.
Kind of thing, Yeah, I mean, I then did myself the misjustice of sort of weighing it up after I butchered it all, and then working out what that would have cost me from a game butcher. Oh, and I was like, that was a bit of a heart-stopping moment because you kind of go, "Well, it's venison because it's cheap," Yeah, you have to buy it.
No, definitely not.
It doesn't mean we don't buy beef anymore.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, we have access to that. We don't raise our own pigs, but we have access to a wonderful woman. So again, if you ever want pork, go onto a website of called The Decent Company.
Decent. I'm right there.
Yeah. Because I cure my own bacon and all of that.
I do all that.
I just Martha Roberts runs The Decent Company, and she's on like Welsh ancient woodland. So these pigs are kind of running, eating beech mast and acorns, and they're all kind of Gloucester Old Spot proper breeds, And I worked it out. I kid you not. If you buy pork from her, it is cheaper, and it will be delivered to your house, chilled with these kind of freezer packs in it, and all the rest. And it's cheaper than buying Tesco Finest.
And it's far superior.
Yeah, just
unbelievable.
Her sausages are the best. I am not, if you look at me, a man who's frightened of a sausage. Right? Or indeed 3 or 4 sausages. Best sausages I've ever had in my life. Getting you into the best sausages I've ever had in my life. Absolutely awesome. And it's just, I mean, I can ring her up and go, Martha, I want 4 complete loins of pork. He says, because he's disappearing on both sides of the screen. But, she would go, thank you, no problem. I'll send them down to you next time we get some that have been booked. And that then I will cure, and I'll people cure some, and I'll brown sugar cure some, and I'll build our own smoker out of an oil drum, and we'll supply of bacon.
That's advice on there direct from farmer, because you're getting so much. The quality you get in comparison to what you can buy in the shops is just phenomenal. It's far less needed. But it's finding those. That's where Instagram's a bloody wonderful place.
It is, absolutely. There's some awesome, small holders who turn out some real good quality. And again, if you can get half a lamb from someone, which we do on occasion, or a whole lamb from someone, which we do on occasions, and of course we sell our chickens, which kind of pays for that, and it all kind of, it kind of comes out in the wash, if you know what I mean. We raise more chickens than we need, other people raise more pigs than they need. But if you buy direct from producer, I think there are several things in play there, and one of them is you are, exactly as Fiona said, you're cutting out the middleman. So you're buying a higher quality product than you could possibly buy if it had to go through 3 other pairs of hands.
Exactly.
And this is my definition now of a good butcher. If you go and point to a joint of pork, he can't tell you what breed of pig it was. What does he actually know about the provenance of that meat?
Yeah, exactly.
You know what breed it was, No. It's weird, isn't it? Because we're running on about Aberdeen Angus or Wagyu beef, but who could tell you the taste difference between a Tamworth and a Gloucester Old Spot? And there is one. Absolutely, there is one. And yet we've become used to this, like pork is pork. No, it's not. It really isn't. You know?
Our,
what-
our village butcher's got in when you walk in. He's got a big blackboard on and said, "This week the beef is from such and such farm. It's this. The pork is, and it's all listed down."
Yeah, that's amazing.
That's what you need, isn't it?
Yeah, we've actually, during the pandemic, one of our local butchers started actually delivering in a van. He shut the shop and actually started running his business back in a van. And you ask him where any of his meat comes from, he'll be able to tell you the farm, he'll be able to tell you the breed. He's absolutely amazing. But the few and far between that's the thing. I mean, I was actually shocked when we got this lamb from, it was actually from a good friend of mine from, only about 15 miles away. And I didn't know a lamb could have so little fat in it. I mean, the healthiest sheep I've ever seen in my entire life, but this meat wasn't, when we roasted it, the bottom of the pan wasn't absolutely slopping in lamb's fat. It was so lean and incredibly tasty. It was amazing, wasn't it?
I did a crispy lamb dish. You know, like when you do crispy duck, the Chinese, work beautifully with lamb. You know, you've got a surplus of lamb. And we kind of do it with Chinese five spice and honey and kind of all massaged into the lamb. And then you like slow roast it till it's crispy on the outside.
You're making him hungry.
I know, but that is just kind of filling pancakes to go with it and then make lamb sauce, wasn't it? Okay, that is, and that's what I mean about this stuff. It's like people sometimes think, and I could not get the body I've developed if I didn't love my food. Sufficiency gives you access to better food. This is the thing I'm so passionate about. It's not like some worthy thing when you're eating gruel and brown rice. You know, you're eating the best food in the world. You know?
Oh yeah, definitely.
The star chefs ask us for some of the things we grow because they cannot get it anywhere else.
And the thing is, it doesn't have to be everything you eat. It just has to be a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just something. Just as I say, grow that chili plant on your mantelpiece. Wherever you live, whatever type of house you've got, stick it on your mantelpiece. It'll look great.
Yeah,
it's interesting. You'll always have a conversation if anyone ever comes round, and what you'll be able to do with it with cooking will be amazing.
Yeah, absolutely.
So self-sufficient for chilies.
Yeah.
Keeping you, by the way, because we can talk for English.
Yeah,
you might have realised.
I was just about to say I could keep going for hours and hours because. Just mate, I could keep going. We have been going for over an hour and a half.
Yeah.
It could be the longest ever podcast.
Yes.
And that's just me finishing my introduction, you know.
Yeah. What I was going to say is maybe we could do it again in the summer and we could have a look round your actual plots outside.
Yeah.
Orbs of happiness.
Yeah. Or chicken, as normal people call them.
Orbs of happiness.
Brilliant. So at this point, normally Mark has got his he's got a little lightning round of questions for you to both answer.
Okay. I'm scared now.
Whatever comes into your head instantly.
It's the most stressful part of the night.
Okay. Do it to us.
Okay, first one, tea or coffee?
Coffee, black. Nothing in it. I want coffee that tastes of coffee.
I want a spoon to stand up in it.
Yes.
That's exactly how I have it.
Definitely.
Flowers or edibles?
Edibles.
Fiona said she likes flowers earlier.
Unless it's fruit, and then it's definitely edibles.
Beach or forest?
Forest.
Well matched. What is your go-to emoji on a text message?
Probably winky face, I think.
No, I think it's a happy face for me with the big rosy cheeks.
Nice.
That's the one I use the most.
Yeah.
There is a hand gesture one I use quite a lot, but we won't cover that.
If you could have one snack for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Crisps. Salt and vinegar.
Egg fried rice.
Oh, nice.
Snack. Snack. Egg fried rice, not snack.
You don't get a body like
Love it. My perfect day would be?
Thing with the chickens.
Living here.
You're already doing
Yeah,
it.
living the dream.
That's why we never go on holiday, ever.
Don't need to.
No, we're already.
We don't
Yeah, we're living how we want. I mean, why would we want to get away from the life we love?
Exactly.
Sowing seeds or potting on?
Popping on.
Sowing seeds. Sowing.
Perfect.
Seed?
Fantastic.
It works well.
It
Clearly
does.
does.
Sowing seeds is that moment before anything's gone wrong.
Yeah.
It's
It can
the
all go
promise
wrong
of the
from
new year, isn't it?
there.
Yeah.
It is. Everything's in front of you. Everything's to look forward to. It is. I love it. And actually, even better than sowing seeds is choosing seeds.
Yeah.
Seed catalogue is
Or
old
even-
bloke, isn't it? You know, it really is.
Or even saving seeds. Parsnips.
Yeah,
etc.
I mean, but there you go. There's my problem. You see, Jamie, it's like I can produce almost all the seeds. Although carrots are a bit thin, but almost all the seeds that we grow. But then it gets boring, and I get bored again. And I remember I said I've got to be doing new stuff all the time.
Yeah.
But even if I can't use all the seeds I need, I want to grow something else. Just because I want to grow something else.
Yeah.
Whereas I just want to propagate what I've got and pot on, take cuttings.
Yeah.
And
Make
layer
plants.
my fruit trees, my fruit bushes.
Next one, spring or summer?
Spring.
Ooh.
Oh, yeah.
Matt.
Well, actually, out of those two, autumn.
Yeah.
No. Depends, the promise of chicks, love it.
Yeah, I don't know. Leaves, country walks, log fires. I like autumn. Autumn's good.
Autumn is a good one. Today's favourite plant?
Penstemon.
Bring on.
Ooh.
Now, if I could have a flower garden filled with penstemon, I'd be a happy woman.
Oh, they last forever. They
I know.
just go on and on and on.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So many colours, so many varieties, love them.
Actually, I like alliums. I'm just going to say alliums because they're everything in there. You've got flowers, you've got food, you've got the whole shebang.
Yeah, they're brilliant. As long as you don't get white rot or the allium leaf.
I've got a touch of rust in places, but I just move them around, you know. So, but we even grow things like Bevington's leeks and three-cornered leeks, and you know all the really weird ones. But I've got new alliums coming up right now.
Yeah.
But, so you can grow them year round, which I think is fantastic.
Yeah, they're pretty hardy, aren't they?
Oh yeah.
Next one, unlimited compost or unlimited seeds?
Compost.
Yeah, I can produce the seeds.
Yeah.
So.
It's what we all need more of, compost constantly.
Yeah.
If you could have a gardening superpower, what would it be?
Nothing ever dies.
I'm the one person in the world that can get rid of bindweed.
Yeah. That's a really good one.
You'd be a rich man.
Oh, you would.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, nothing ever dies, and being able to get rid of bindweed is a bit.
Yeah,
Work against each other.
I actually don't mind stuff dying because I get to replace it with something else a little bit more interesting.
That's true.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
I don't really know what that superpower. Oh yeah, every cutting never dies.
Yeah.
That's good. That's a good one.
Yeah.
And finally, if you could choose one plant to describe yourself, what would it be?
A rose hip past its best.
Say that again, Fiona. You broke up.
A rose hip. So the bit's gone, but you're left with a useful bit to do something useful with.
Yeah. Nice.
Okay. I'm gonna be an apple tree, I think, because they're they're not actually particularly good looking, but they're useful to have around, aren't they?
Perfect. Absolutely perfect. Well, it's 9:20. I think it's getting close to bedtime.
It's been a lot of fun. You're definitely welcome to do this again.
Yeah,
that'd be brilliant.
We'll definitely
Fantastic.
get you on again. It's been
And I've
brilliant.
kind of worked out that you're not that far away from either of us, really. Are
No,
you
Really.
Are you Boston way?
Yes,
Yeah.
somewhere between Boston and Skegness.
See, I worked that out just from your chat tonight. See, I'm not too bad. When you're saying you're near the Wash and Sleaford and all that, I thought you must be Boston way.
That's the way.
Yeah.
That's simple enough, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, Mark's
But
in
now,
Lincoln, I'm in Kings Lynn.
Yeah, you used to work in Kings Lynn, didn't you?
yeah, I did. That was the first job when I moved back up here. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. That was yeah. We bought this house, and you were still working down south, and I moved in on my own.
Yeah. Well, somebody's got to get the place ready for me. You know, order the man that doesn't.
Oh, I'll tell you what, I killed a car with this place because I'd on a Friday night I'd either drive down south and go and get him and bring him back here and then do the reverse on Sunday, or I'd drive down south and spend the weekend down there, wouldn't I?
Oh yeah, I mean that was a weekend was 1,000 mile of driving.
Yeah.
Wow.
That was crackers, wasn't it?
Yeah. I did kill a car.
Mental.
You're going to do that, that's for sure.
I want to go back to that again.
Cool.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Horrible.
Well, enjoy the editing, Mark, won't you? Because I mean, you get that down to 20 minutes. That'll be easy, won't it? You know?
No, that's going out as is. There's no swear words or anything. Boom, straight out.
It'll just take about 4 hours to upload.
We were remarkably restrained.
Absolutely.
It was quite nice, weren't we?
If somebody wants to listen to it back, it'll get them through a couple of football matches.
That's a quarter of your day at work if you do 8 hours.
Absolutely.
Exactly. Brilliant.
Yeah, very true.
Anyway.
Right. Fantastic. Thank you so much. It's been
guys.
brilliant. Like I said, I could listen over and over again.
Thanks, guys.
And we'll speak to you soon. Lovely to meet you.
Take care.
Again.
Bye.
Cheers, bye.
Bye.
Another one. We could keep going and going and going.
What a life they've got.
Oh,
The good life.
the dream. Every time they mention something, I thought, that sounds familiar. I do that, I do this, I do that. So, you know what? We're on the way here. We're on the way.
Yeah. I think the only thing that I could never do that they do is the animal side of it. Like, I could never do any of the killing and butchering or anything like that. Like,
No.
That's probably quite common for a lot of people as well, isn't it? That we've just lost that part of our life.
Yeah.
I mean, my mum talks about when because my mum used to live up at Langold with her parents when she was a kid, and she'd go into the kitchen and there'd be like chickens hanging in the larder that were pets basically, and then her mum had gone and rang the next, and 2 generations down the line we've completely lost that connection of how the chicken breasts that you get in the shop were once an animal.
Exactly.
They're sort of doing it.
Yeah.
They're
cope with it.
I mean, you'd get used to it again because you'd have to. If
you have to, you have to. Yeah.
And you needed food, you'd figure out how to do it and you'd do it. But because we've all became used to this luxury of just going down the shop, you don't need to anymore, and that's part of the problem, because it's so easy to just go down the shop. Whereas in the past, it was like, if you don't do this, you don't get it. That's why meat used to be so special, because it was either what you've got in the yard, and you've only got like 2 cows or whatever. So once you'd used that up, that's the end of it. You don't even. That's
why Sunday roast used to be such a big thing.
Exactly.
Because you only have a decent piece of meat on a Sunday.
Yeah. It'd be the only red meat you'd have probably all week.
Yeah.
It's crazy how quickly life has changed from that to what we all know now.
Yeah.
And some people don't even have that connection that chicken breast in the shop was probably even a live animal for some people. It's scary.
Very. Very, very. It's been a long one.
Yeah, it's going to be pushing 2 hours.
It is, yeah.
It is
5 minutes.
definitely 100% the longest ever episode.
Sorry, Mr. Perry.
No, I think it was Chris was the reigning longest ever episode. It was an hour 44.
My comments haven't worked right from the beginning.
Oh, they're not.
Since Jenny said about C. Buckhorn, and nor of my viewers. Is there people still watching?
Yeah. There's still people in.
Was going to say about next week being our last one for a month and why, but I don't know. We've got a couple of minutes.
Or do you want to wait till next week and do it all then? And then we can just talk the whole episode.
Yeah, all right, we'll do that.
Good old chat.
Yeah. All right.
So
we'll do that
join us next week in what will be the last episode of Through the Garden Gate for the year, and you'll find out why next week.
You will. Right. Thanks, everybody. Even I don't know who's in. I
for
can't see the
listening.
bloody thing. Thanks, Mark. Thanks, Fiona and Hugh, if you're still there. Thank you so much. See you later.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to Through the Garden Gate.